Oh boy, we start off Canto 6 on episode 60. That means we'll be caught up by like 20 more episodes. No. Hey, welcome back to more Limbus Company. I'm SlayerMathis, and last time we finish off Yield by Flesh to claim their bones, and this time we will be heading on to the Heartbreaking. But first things first, we gotta view some nice mini right away. I guess the traffic sucks no matter which nest we go to. We've been traveling at a snail's pace through the extreme congestion of the nest for several days now. Roja, clearly affected by this boredom, sighed and muttered. We've been through similar long periods of inactivity before, but boredom isn't something one could easily get used to. I suppose it became a part of my job to listen to the sinners complain about the slow pace of our travel. Much longer until the T-Corp immigration checkpoint. The only option is to give them a reminder of how far we are from our destination. Considering that we will be on standby for approximately a day at our next stop, and taking into account various other stops we'll be making on route, our estimated time of arrival is in 3 days. Oh, it's not like we're traveling very far, but with this awful traffic, feels way further than it really is. Gregor's right. It didn't seem like the city was that big. Maybe there's something to these inevitable over the long travel times, something I'm yet to understand. Guess traveling around a large bus with the narrow back streets is what's taking us such a long time. We thought it would have been faster to march on foot. Yet what of our room and board? You're unaware that camping out in the open is a natural part of any long march? Hey, Officer Otis, not everyone's been a soldier here. And if we're unlucky, might even run into those terrifying sweepers before the break of dawn. Even a partial mention of their name drains all color from Sinclair's face. Remember what the sinners once told me about them. That before the break of dawn, there's these things called sweepers that sweep up the trash in the back streets. It's kind of terrifying how broad their definition of trash could be. They call that hour the night in the back streets or something like that. This bus is one of the few vehicles recognized by the city as a residential vehicle, which means that we remain safe from the hands of sweepers. Attempting to sleep outside the bus in the back streets would not permit a restful sleep. Instead, we'll be forced to survive the onslaught of sleepers for an hour in the early hours of dawn. Makes sense. Those sweepers do steer clear of residential areas, after all. Slow yet safe travel by vehicle, or a fast yet high-risk march on foot. It's quite a strategic dilemma. I don't believe the latter option is up for consideration of any fellow. And the bus is once again consumed by commotion. And that commotion barged in the creak of an opening door and a familiar sigh. I understand all of you must be quite impatient, but we're precisely on schedule, so save your breath and stop complaining. By the looks on your faces, I would have been worrying about a mutiny if I didn't know any better. There's papers in your hands. Any orders from higher-ups? We guess what's holding one appeared to be a bundle of freshly printed paper. This wasn't the first time something like this happened. Sometimes after communicating in his room with the higher-ups of the company, he'd bring in a few sheets of paper to bring us up to speed. Yes, a new update. Still telling me all the detail. I'm quite done cleaning up these salt messes. Look, we have to get to stop whining like a petulant child. There won't be any more detours until we reach our current destination. Virgilius furrowed his brows, walked to the front of the bus, and leaning against one of the first row chairs, began leisurely shuffling through the documents. It's just an announcement. It says here that there will be changes to how your records of abnormalities, distortions, and capture are categorized. So we gotta do a bunch of paperwork? No. Once completed, your observation logs are all digitized and shared with the upper echelons of the company. Of course, if the observation logs themselves need to be edited, there may be orders to make direct adjustments by hand. However, the categorization for each entity will be updated automatically. They are really informed the sinners of the upcoming changes. It's nice to have someone else do the explaining for once. She's right. I assume that has a lot to do with the new types of catch that we've encountered before. Yes, but that isn't all. Virgilius closed his eyes wearily and lightly folded the papers in his hands. He called out to the two sinners. Yusung, Ishmael. He's pointing at Ishmael and Yusung. Yeah? You have called upon my name. Leave it to you model students to display the contents of these documents. I don't feel like I'm up to the task of explaining what's on this paper to all of you. That Virgilius pretty much shoved the paper in Ishmael's hands before taking a seat in the front row of the bus. He just dumped his responsibility onto us. Joe didn't seem too happy about this turn of events. Still, she opened the documents and began reading. I can't tell if he actually does care, if he doesn't actually care about us, or if he just naturally comes off as a cold person. So what does the thing say, Yoshi? Give me a sec. So, is there anything new about the abnormalities? Looks like these documents from the LCD. Center address says... LCD is the department that has contacted Manager Esquire, is it not? Ezra, was it? I still remember her chaotic, bubbly voice coming through the radio. The former L Corp. Bus begins to fill with a familiar, hectic buzz once again. If you allow me to... Miss Ishmael? His son shouted to help with Ishmael's explanation of the documents, but... This is Exactly why I'm the only one who ever reads the guides. I see veins starting to pop in Ishmael's fingers. That's why she's going to drop the documents in favor of her mace. Ishmael, I got this, calm down. I hurried over to Ishmael and practically hung onto the documents in her hands. I nearly tore the bundle of documents in half, but she quickly gave up and loosened her grip. Yoshi, Otis, please keep Don Quixote and Heathcliff quiet while I take care of this. Oh yes, this will be fun. Without killing them or beating them up, please? Bah. Yoshi slowly lowered Don Quixote's lance she'd picked up. Alright then, if you have any questions while Ishmael reads from the documents, raise your hands to be recognized. You saw them? Faust, you guys don't need to raise your hands to speak, so please chime in if there are any details you can elaborate on. Understood. Very well. Ryoji, if anyone tries to speak out of turn, please smack them lightly on the head. If you do good, I'll make sure to order you extra desserts during your team dinner. Phew, you sure know how to motivate people, Dante. What an impressive growth of leadership capabilities, Executive Manager. Not even first bump goes to... Wait, this wasn't... A few minutes later, after a quick commotion, I found the situation settled enough to return the documents to Ishmael's hand. Give it to you. The former L Corp, also known as the Lobotomy Corporation, used to contain and manage the abnormalities we face in their branches. Even taking into account that their strengths were suppressed by the golden vows, there was a pretty significant difference between their risk level categories and the actual risk involved in facing them. Other employees and the higher-ups of the Limbus Company also apparently felt something was familiar yet That's why they invested this issue through the LCD department. So far, there have been 5 categories of risk level. 5? And only 4 of them. Yoji punched Heathcliff in the crown of the head, which promptly slumped to the ground, out cold. Maybe it was the suddenness of the attack that did it. You didn't kill him, did you? No, he'll be fine. It's Heath. It's not like I smacked him that hard. Sinclair quietly raised his hand. Go ahead. Ishmael nodded at Sinclair. Well, I thought there were only 4 risk levels. Zayn, Teth, he, and Val, just like Heathcliff said. They're the only ones we've seen so far, yeah. According to these documents, the highest risk level category is labeled Aleph. Like I said earlier, there's a pretty significant disparity between their categorization standards and our experience with them in the field. Which is why they're apparently planning to make overhauls to these standards by Limbus Company standards. Go ahead, Marcel. You must inquire what exactly this overhaul entails. Meaning that the abnormalities will be categorized within the pre-existing framework of the categorization, where additional risk levels be categories be created. It doesn't elaborate that far, but it says here that the Lobotomy Corporation used each abnormality's encapsulant production capability to categorize them into different risk levels. Abnormalities with more complicated, difficult management conditions apparently produce more encapsulant. So I guess the more complicated an abnormality is, the harder they are to fight. That does line up with their own experiences, sort of. But it can hardly be said that it was flawless. It's been like they're trying to make these risk levels better reflect our own field experiences, which doesn't rule the possibility of them adding more tiers to the pre-existing ones. For we can talk about management but combat against these foes. It is sensible that the standards for risk levels be adjusted towards... Roger, wait! Yusangi, speak without raising your hand. Ah, right, my bad. I managed to stop Roger just before her fist connected with Yusangi's crown. It was only if she was moving based on pure instinct. So that's why they're overhauling the risk levels based on actual risks each abnormality poses in battle. So we do well to be aware of the possible changes to the risk levels written in observation logs. Oh, no, let us know once again once the precise details are decided. Next session is about distortions, which... Don Quixote raised her hand. But Ishmael continued to explain without coming to a stop. She probably just ignored her. So far, we've been using the same subject classification codes as abnormalities for distortions, but it's gotten pretty clear there's a big difference between them. And if we give these 2 groups distinct classification codes, the difference being... Hamlet raised a hand and Ishmael nodded. Don Quixote appeared a bit crestfallen. The difference is when defeated, abnormalities transform into egg-like forms, but distortions don't, am I right? Correct. Distortions can be completely subdued by simply defeating them in battle. But any method of fully slaying an abnormality is yet to be discovered, even in theory. So she says, I've all our first-hand experience against them, so it shouldn't be too hard to understand. Comes the last subject, was about the Pacatula. I'm going to give them a classification code scheme different from the abnormalities as well. A new type of Pacatula we've recently encountered. Let's see, a classification basis, abnormalities and distortions both have elements of uniqueness that's mentioned in each individual Pacatula. Since it's been deemed... Okay, I don't really get what this is talking about. Faust walked up next to Ishmael and began to explain. Uniqueness in this context refers to the fact that no same entity exhibits the same location. We have to recall that our encounters with the Pacatula have always been against multiple duplicates of the same category of Pacatulum. However, no such encounters have been made against distortions and abnormalities. Hopefully this has been a sufficient explanation for all. Right, so simply put, we can just toss some Pacatulas all the same bin, but each and every one of them abnormalities and distortions special unique, eh? Could explain it much easier if they just... You seem to have woken up from this coma, but... I'm looking forward to that extra dessert. This moment of lucidity barely lasted a moment. That's all there is to it. That's pretty great, isn't it? It's refreshing doing something like this once in a while. Don Quixote does not lower her hand since Ishmael ignored her the first time, not even for a brief moment. Fine, ask away. Dost thou know of the name of the LCD employee who hath composed that report? Ishmael seemed a bit taken aback by that Don Quixote actually managed to ask a rather sensible question. It was asked with the same enthusiasm she has when talking about a fixer, that is. Sure, give me a sec. Sender, LCD on-site investigative reasoning team leader Moses. Right. We might as well keep that name in mind, so we'll probably run into them sooner or later. I'm sorry for ignoring you, Don Quixote. Well, Don Quixote was finally given the answer that she so passionately craved. She did not appear happy or excited about it. Instead, she seemed to be absorbed deep in thought. Something on Don Quixote? I recall hearing that name in the past. Yet I cannot quite recall as to who that main name belonged to. Okay, now we're actually done. Thought I'd be able to collect a little bit more dessert. There's more time doing than it was initially expected. Dante, now? About time. If I confirmed today's closing business for the sinners. This could have dragged on for much longer, but the sinners were thankfully pretty cooperative, so we managed to finish our day early. I followed the sinners to the back door of the bus, my heart a little lighter than it was at the start of the day. I feel like I'm forgetting something. It took me about 30 minutes to realize we left Heathcliff out cold on the bus floor. Right before his canto, too. It's a bit rude of you guys. Like, come on, at least for his canto, be nice to him. But, Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights. Come back, Heath. To the manor where the last vestiges of its beauty remain in its violent flowers. To the manor where its storm-broken breach has siphoned all that was once warm. To the manor that gave you not only life, but also scorn and desolation. To the manor where your place was the frozen corner that couldn't be further from the hearth. Returned from the moors. It's time for you to come home. That's what T-Corp's nest looks like. Well, surprisingly little trouble making it past the nest borders. I guess my concerns were unfounded. Someone made it through this nest check without any trouble. 'Tis nothing, for such wild compliments are necessary, says I. I didn't say anything. He's grown so much. I can see it's awfully relaxed for having just entered a different nest. I guess everyone's gotten used to this by now. Humdrum, routine. I guess they'd be the worst to describe the general sentiment among sinners, just for one, that is. This place called Wuthering Heights next, right? I could tell from Heathcliff's glum expression that his mind was weighed down by all kinds of complicated concerns. Oh, yeah. His eyes were staring at the moving scenery past the windows. His mind was fixed on something that his eyes couldn't see. Something that lay beyond the building walls. Wuthering Heights. They must be built in one woody hill, huh? Yeah, bloody wuthering like its namesake. Not so the corner of the place gave any comfort. Heathcliff's voice carried an unusually dark tone. The sinners on the bus noticed him again, chatting him up. I returned to one's homeland, springing forth quite the tangled mess of emotions. Homeland? Well, I wasn't born here, was raised here. Suppose that could count as the homeland in his way. But it's like conscience needs the same feeling that a homeland's supposed to. That is to say, no, yeah, the tongues of imagine it, play it out in my head, turn to a bloody man, smashing every little thing in that place to bits till there's nothing left. Smash everything to bits, then what? You really learned nothing from watching what I went through at the lake? You did learn something. If I lose the plot, push myself to the brink and no return, there's the one you lost to pull me out of it. I'm just wishing to beat the sense back into you. Yeah, that's what it takes. Interesting. How far are we allowed to go with bodily harm? Amputation? Nerve mutilation? Maybe we at least smack his head really hard? Oh, you cheeky bastards! See if there's any invitations you use me as your emotional punch back. Not the mood to... Still, I think present self can do this, Heathcliff. Huh? What do you mean about my present self? Heathcliff, your present self is deprived. You're poor and you don't have anything left. What? Poor? Right, now you get past the pleasures, you go straight to personal insults, yeah? I think you took my words the wrong way. Almost far from the most talkative sinner, when he does speak, he usually has something insightful to say. Though since he never says it in a way that's immediately obvious, his words are very prone to misunderstandings. In a way, we're all deprived, and that can change a lot of things. Maybe there are things we can understand only when we're left with nothing. Does that poverty explain our current unsightly lack of colorfulness? Don Quixote looked more fully at everything around her than at herself. She sounded like she was about to cry. Everything had been drained of color since the moment we entered T-Corp through the back streets. It feels like even more of our colors have been taken away since then. I was wondering when we bring that up. Maybe we'll get our colors back soon. And that's what I thought like 10 hours ago. We don't be colors forever. We'll be stuck in this gloomy hue for the rest of our lives. There's like nothing looks tasty in the sepia hue. I'm starting losing my will to live. Everything's in that sickly brown hue. Guys, even the meat looks downright rotten this color. There's a bit of an overreaction in it. Oh, and what about those guys? They've got color in their clothes. So the Norlook wrote a gesture toward one of the people outside the bus. A sufficient amount of payment must be made in order to retrieve your colors. It must be emphasized that this question has been repeatedly answered on 23 separate occasions. Let me have Ganda, his trousers, Well, it's not even that loaded. He's only trying to come off as though he is. Real tough spending our cash to get every single colour back. The true trinkets like the rim of their glasses. Did you also have to live without colours when you lived here, Heathcliff? No, man had some colour, yeah? Though it's far from vibrant. Agreed. It's the colour of shit. Blood should have remained red. Poor soul's gonna get himself jumped on well with that look. Just enough colour and violence, but not enough to keep him away. Heathcliff's predictions came true soon enough. Several thieves surrounded the bloke who's only trying to come off as though he's loaded and bashed on the back of his head. Fie! A bunch of shameless villains they are! Preying on a weak civilian like a pack of hyenas! Are they what you would call a gang? Guys are too, I've certainly seen better days. I wouldn't even call them a gang. It's slowly low, I've run out of time. Last time I was just scum like them, couldn't even dare infest the streets so brazenly. There are gangs that aren't scummy. Of course! A gang I was on would never dog problems and pour on a bloke like that. Karen wants to vroom. Can't vroom it for old block. Well, there's much point in waiting for the situation to resolve itself. Regulus finally spoke up after quietly listening in on our discussion for the last few minutes. Take care of them before Don Quixote starts making a fuss about it. An enactment of justice! I thank thee! You're really starting to get the hang of this, huh? Vergilius is just becoming a master of managing Don Quixote. That's really all you can do with Limbus. You can manage them. There's no time! We'll keep our... shit, I forgot to add in Yuridivi Honglu. Alright, you gitch! This one's yours! Looks like you lot were a long time as well! Just look, we've only got 30 minutes yourselves. Oi, maybe when they're one of them dead rabbits or something. 30 minutes? 30 minutes for what? Ain't possible. All dead rabbits in the vigilante ways no more. All they do now is staring at you funny from behind those old masks. Masks? Huh? What are you... Bullets! We haven't got time for this, let's kill him, quick! They're getting rushing at us with bloodshot eyes, not giving Heathcliff time to even finish his sentence. I forget what the music for this canto is like. Oh, right. It's weirdly somber. Nothing for that. Only level 25? The fuck? I suppose they are just a very lowly gang. The lowliest of the lowly. What? 3 or 4 coin skill Nightmare Hunt is really quick. But yeah, nice melancholy tempest. Of course, this will be a little bit more difficult later on. But yeah, I do enjoy the fact that like a lot of Kanto is in the sepia tone. I don't know, it just kind of fits England vibes. Truly a fate worse than death, having to live in England. And so I mentioned before, like, oh, we could have a team full of the full of our Season 4 identities. I entirely forgot that Dead Rabbit's boss, Merceau, existed. Kind of for understandable reason, it's not a great identity. It's not bad per se, it's just, it is one of the identities of all time. But yeah, we have mostly our Kanto crew, and then also Yi Song. See, we can tell that we're actually trying to stay away from the British set because we have a gun in our party. So, like, you know, we're not just brawling out here. And just because I am a little short on time, I will end things off. Fitting. I will end things off for now because we are at the 20-minute mark. Next time, we'll get, I think, a decent bit of the way through. Well, not through the Kanto. We'll get some decent progress on the Kanto. But until then, see you guys later.